The mysterious goddess Elune brought much to life. Some could remain at her side, whilst others were of the mortal world, and so were sent to Azeroth. So powerful was her child Cenarius that his arrival whispered through the Emerald Dream itself. With no mother and a father, Malorn, taken to the wilds, it was left to one inquisitive dragon to take Cenarius and raise him as her own, Yesera. Like the Dreamer, Cenarius was a union of the heavens and earth, cosmic power with the pure stuff of Azeroth. Yesera taught Cenarius the secrets of the dream, and together they taught the Tauren and Kaldorei. That harmony was destroyed with Ysera's empire, but Yesera was there to guide the Night Elves to their new destiny as Warden of the Wilds and the Dream. Yesera, beyond the other aspects, is in a strange position. Empowered by the Titans, but the adoptive mother of Elune's children, protector of the Emerald Dream, the summer to Ardenweald's winter. It should be no surprise that some dismissively call her Elune's pet. And there is truth in that, for the story of the Dreamer and Elune have ever been intertwined.
Welcome back to Dragons of Warcraft and today's episode on Yesera. You can check out the previous episodes and other key dragons of this expansion with the playlist link. And if you would like to support content like this and actually quite literally make this sort of thing possible, you can check out our Patreon, which is linked down below. There's early access to content, name in the credits, and of course, the really awesome loot that is put together by our Game Studios art team. This is just a little bit of what we've got going for Death Knight month, which is December. This pretty damn awesome looking pin. So for all of that, head up the link down below. Patrons, thank you for making more experimental series like this possible. Okay, let's go.
Yesera was hatched a small and sickly yellow whelp, but through the love of her clutch sister Alexstrasza, she survived and she thrived. Her love for life and the wilds of Azeroth was so great that even during the darkest moments of Galakrond's rampage, she couldn't comprehend hurting his unliving servants. She went so far as to even go before Galakrond himself and beg for peace. But this was a dangerous gambit. For following them from the shadows was the Titan Keeper Tyr, who had taken a great interest in Yesera and their band of surprisingly intelligent proto-drakes. But Yesera's foolish attempt at peace forced him to reveal himself and save her. Once convinced Galakrond stood in stark opposition to life, she fought alongside Alexstrasza, Nosdormu, Neltharion, and Malygos to end Galakrond. Although Yesera was physically the weakest of the future aspects, the Titan Aeonar, through her Watchers, saw the strength of her love for life and entrusted her with guardianship of the Emerald Dream. With this, Yesera fell into a trance-like sleep, her eyes always closed, even when she walked among mortals. The Aspect's first true test was the Winterscorn War, an uprising of Vrykul orchestrated by the treacherous Titan Keeper Loken. Vrykul slew Titanforged and enslaved proto-drakes, attempting to take the whole of the Storm Peaks. The Aspects took wing, using their incredible powers to destroy the Vrykul armies. To bring a permanent and less violent end to this conflict, Yesera and Nosdormu wove a spell of sleep that froze the Vrykul in time. Thousands of years later, those Vrykul were awoken by the Lich King to serve. The Aspects did countless other things in the earlier days of their charge. Yesera, at first intrigued by the Kaldorei, soon retreated into the Dream with disgust as their empire spread and forests fell, making way for greater and greater cities as their levels of arcane excess would only grow. Yesera wasn't fully aware of what was transpiring in Ysera's empire, but the very suggestion of a demonic invasion was enough. She was quick to empower the Dragon Soul, a super weapon proposed by the treacherous but still undercover Neltharion. The War of the Ancients was calamitous for all, but particularly so for the dragons. Scores and scores died when Neltharion revealed his true allegiances. Malygos was even forced into a 10,000-year coma. What's worse, the so-called arch-traitor Illidan seeded a new well of eternity at Hyjal's peak, threatening another crisis for the world. Yesera took a seed from Gehanir, the mother tree, and gave it to her sister Alexstrasza, who planted it over the new well, keeping its energies masked and out of reach. This world tree, Nordrasil, was blessed by each of the Dragonflights, and with this last task accomplished, they each retreated to their lairs to lick their wounds. Yesera was rarely, if ever, outside of the dream. The dream is forged from the primordial realm of life. Some say it's what Azeroth looked like back before any intervention. Some say it's what she will one day become. We know it's located somewhere within the realm of life, the counterpart to Ardenweald in the realm of death, the summer to its winter. Yesera tended the dream through its summer, but mortal minds were intent on corrupting it. Fandral Staghelm, once a noble druid, had fallen to the whispers of the old gods, driven mad by the grief from his son's loss. He poisoned Malfurion with Morrowgrain, making him sleep and leaving Fandral as leader of the Night Elves. Against the advice of the Ancients and the Dragonflights, he planted Teldrassil, and without their blessing, particularly Ysera's connection to the dream, this new world tree was vulnerable to corruption. But the tree still had a connection to the dream. Long ago, the satyr known as Xavius was turned into a tree and cast into the ocean. Then a servant of Fel, he now served Void and was soon recovered by Fandral. A branch of Xavius's void-corrupted tree body was grafted onto Teldrassil, and this is when the corruption first took root in that tree. Yesera was directing the protection of Azeroth from within the dream, sending her consort Iranicus to the temple of Atal Hakar to stop the trolls' apocalyptic plan of summoning in their god. Then all of a sudden, the dream went silent. The first signs mortals had of this corruption were the emergence of the Dragons of Nightmare. Ysera's most powerful children driven mad, bounding forth from their portals of the Dreamway, seeing everyone, even former allies, as the cause of the dream's corruption. As all of this chaos ensued, Ysera's whereabouts were unknown. Through the corruption of the Wailing Caverns, slaying of the Dragons of Nightmare, and the invasion of Stormrage Barrow, Xavius, now a manifestation of the Nightmare, grew more powerful. At this time, Azeroth had just faced a 1-2 punch of Illidan and Arthas, and that is when Xavius unleashed the Nightmare. The first step was corralling Yesera into her lair within the dream, the Eye of Yesera, where Xavius's minions began bombarding her with void energy. The next step was to bring the Nightmare and Azeroth onto one plane. So, a Night Elf A-team, including Tyrande, Malfurion, Brawl, Bearmantle, and the few remaining uncorrupted Green Dragons, fought Xavius to a standstill and defeated him. Xavius failed to achieve both of his goals, but he was not done, and his ultimate prize was still Yesera. The Nightmare receded, but hidden deep within the dream, into the depths of the Rift of Aln, his spirit escaped, and the Nightmare began to regrow its strength. The forces of Void and its old gods were not nearly done with Azeroth yet. Deathwing was unleashed. The former aspect's first ambition was destroying the remaining aspects. Malygos was now dead, having fallen during the campaign against Arthas. But for the first time since her charge, Yesera opened her eyes and walked Azeroth awakened. Yesera was the first to understand that the Dragon Soul was their only hope, but without the power of all 5 flights, it was useless, even if they managed to retrieve it from the past. But she sensed something in Thrall. His connection, much like Magni's, was with Azeroth herself. That was the true meaning of Earthwarder, Deathwing's old title. So Yesera sent Thrall on a quest to free Nosdormu from the Timeways, and together they helped him understand his role as Earthwarder. With Thrall on board, and the power of all 5 aspects combined, they charged into the Timeways, retrieving the Dragon Soul and destroying Deathwing once for all. But it came at a great cost. The aspects felt that their charge over the planet was now complete, and they laid down their power. Perhaps the other aspects got to step back, but Ysera's charge was over the Dreamways, and Xavius was not at all dead. Much like the War of the Ancients 10,000 years in the past, once again Xavius would strike during an invasion of the Burning Legion. Subtly, he infected Cenarius in his grove, leaving him for all to see. Malfurion, in a growing panic, called out to Yesera, who manifested from the dream. Their side needed to recover the Tear of Elune, a vital artifact to defeating the Legion, but also it could be used to heal Cenarius. Along with an adventurer, Yesera and Malfurion made haste to the Temple of Elune in Val Shara. It was, in fact, a trap. Xavius had grown powerful in the Rift of Aln and took care to place the Queen of the Emerald Dream at the perfect position on his board. Xavius revealed himself, and Yesera struck, but the Satyr had corrupted the Tear of Elune itself and launched it into the air, embedding it in her chest, and turning her into the ultimate Dragon of Nightmare. Yesera, driven insane by the nightmare, attacked all around her until finally she died at the hands of her friends and family. In the rarest of interventions, Elune reached down from the sky and cleansed Ysera's soul, sending it to her sister's realm of Ardenweald. In one of Ardenweald's many groves, nestled in a wild seed, Ysera's soul slept. Not like before, though. This was the unconscious sleep of death. But still, she felt the huge events happening back on Azeroth as nightmares. The grove was nearly overrun by Drust, but a connection to the Mawwalker and Arelon's knowledge of seed tending saved her long enough for the Winter Queen to personally awaken her wild seed. The Winter Queen recognized Yesera as one of Elune's favorites, calling her her sister's pet. The Winter Queen was hurt by Elune's perceived refusal to help Ardenweald in its time of greatest need, so bound Yesera to her realm, placing her outside of the normal cycle of resurrection. But Ysera's intelligence and long association with Elune were needed in the Winter Realm. In the wake of Teldrassil's destruction, Tyrande committed herself to the powerful but deadly Night Warrior ritual, an ancient process to funnel the wrath of Elune through an individual that ultimately would burn them from the inside out. Whilst waging war with the Drust for the destiny of Ardenweald, Yesera gathered 2 further Night Warriors. But things were all about to go wrong, for the Winter Queen and her allies got duped by a Moss-worn distraction, allowing the forces of Zovaal to claim the Winter Queen's sigil. Sylvanas led this attack on Ardenweald, clashing with Tyrande, but just as Tyrande could have got the upper hand, Elune abandoned her champion. Shortly after, Ysera brought the Night Warriors together, and they were able to cleanse Tyrande, saving her from the power that she had claimed. That's when Elune made her first contact, seemingly in history. The goddess discovered that those killed at Teldrassil went to the Maw, not to where they should have, and for this she shed a tear. That tear became the vessel of renewal, and although it is a seed of Ardenweald, Yesera assured us it was touched by the dream, a symbol of a bond between realms, one that Yesera herself now represents. Bringing this to an end, you would think that it's finally time for Yesera to rest. But when Ardenweald and reality were saved, she told us that if Elune truly willed it, she could one day take to the skies of Azeroth again, and with the goddess of the moon now making open moves, perhaps that time is sooner than we may think.